Hello, beautiful peaches. Welcome to the Macros, Metabolism, and Motivation Beautiful Peach podcast. I'm your host, Caitlen, here to help you find your most unwavering love, beauty, and kindness for yourself inside and out. I will be teaching you nutrition and macro tracking secrets, reverse diet and metabolism health tips and tricks, and motivating the heck out of you so you want to leap up and start conquering your goals right away. I am here to help bring you the light at the end of the tunnel so you can discover that self-love and truly become the most confident, beautiful peach possible. So grab a pen and a piece of paper, or if you're in the car at the gym, go ahead and bump up your volume just a little so we can drown out those gym grunters next to you, and we can go ahead and dive right in. Don't forget to snag your completely free high-protein macro cookbook by simply doing a 5-star rate and review on this podcast. All you need to do is submit a 5-star rate and review, then send us your name and email through the link in the show notes so we know exactly where to send your cookbook. By submitting your 5-star rate review, this will also automatically enter you into the weekly podcast macro calculator giveaway. Every week, I give away a copy of my See You Schmidt macro calculator to one lovely winner who leaves an awesome 5-star rate and review. This winner is announced every week on my Instagram story as well as my newsletter email list. So leave that 5-star rate and review, and I'll see you in the episode. What is up, my beautiful peach? Today's episode, we are going to be taking a deep dive in 5 reasons why your reverse diet might not be working for you. I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common mistakes that I personally have seen in my 12 years of experience with reverse dieting, with tracking macros and coaching. And with each mistake, I'm actually going to give you an alternative route for you to take if you are currently doing that mistake, so we can get you back on track, getting you kicking butt, back on the reverse diet train and feeling good. Next stop, a healthy metabolism, sustainable fat loss, and food freedom. Anyway, before we dive in, I do want to give you a huge ear hug because we are so darn close to hitting 100,000 downloads on this podcast episode, which absolutely blows my mind. And I am so excited because it just means that you are enjoying my nerdy goodness. And I love recording my podcast. It's my favorite way to share my knowledge, to share my education. I think it's one thing to share my thoughts on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or even Pinterest, even my blog. I have all of those and more. But my point is, I think there's something really special about me being able to share my knowledge with you here on this podcast, and it makes me really excited. So I just appreciate you for showing up for yourself because it allows me to open that space for me to nerd out, but for me to teach you and to share with you how you can step into this next chapter of your life of true freedom and learn a lot more about your body, because women's health is so important, and it means learning about our body in every different aspect there is out there. And so I'm just super excited to share my knowledge. So without further ado, I am going to dive into podcast episode 96, 5 reasons your reverse diet is not working. Five reasons your reverse diet is not working. This first one is controversial, but one of my favorites because it is one of the most common. Increasing your calories by 50 to 100 calories a week or incorrectly adjusting your macros. I see this all of the time. At least one person a day reaches out on Instagram saying that they have gained weight during their reverse diet, and we're talking about what they were doing. Oh, well, they were increasing by 100 calories every week, not paying attention to weekly variables, not paying attention to biofeedback, and they start to see the weight regain. And if this is you, take a deep breath. Don't panic. You are going to be A-okay. Let's just get you out of that space. The way that I personally teach adjusting macros for reverse dieting is following a very specific method that actually ensures that you will not have that weight regain happening. When doing this reverse diet properly, it will not happen, okay? And so what's really important to note too is when we are reverse dieting, we adjust specifically our protein or our carbs or our fat one at a time by a specific amount. And the reason why we do this, and let's do an analogy. let's imagine our cell phone number. Let's pretend that it is all zeros. When we first get our cell phone number so people can call us, we are given that one set of numbers that when somebody calls us, it will reach us. Period. End of story. It will not reach anybody else. It will not reach your mom. It will reach you because that is your personal specific number. Now, here is where our body is like that programmed phone in the sense that it has certain functions that are innate, that are built into the human body. That's just the way that our body works from birth. Example being metabolic adaptation. To give you quick insight here, is the way that our body, so metabolic being metabolism, adaptation being adapting, our metabolism is adapting. That's just the way that our body works. So I think a lot of people see reverse dieting, see healing metabolism, and they're like, oh, well, that was just created by humans. That's just a method that you use. And it's like, well, actually, no, it's taking the way that our metabolism works. That is the way that we were born. That's just the way that our body is. It's just like our heart beating. It's just like our digestive system. We have our metabolism and the way that it works. So for reverse dieting, the idea of reverse dieting for a lot of people feels very confusing, or tracking macros feels very confusing. It's mind-blowing. It's new. Simply because it's new to us doesn't mean that it's something that isn't going to work. It's new in the sense of the education that you're getting. But when we are bringing it back to our cell phone number and our body being like that programmed phone, what this means is essentially our body has certain functions in it that it knows how to do those functions. It knows what it's supposed to do. It knows when you do X, Y, Z, or if you do X, Y, Z will happen. So saying that our number is a bunch of zeros, it's 10 zeros. When we call somebody with those 10 zeros, you are getting what you want. You are getting the person that you want. You are getting where you need to go. But if you accidentally type in 9 zeros and then a 1, you're not going to get the person that you want. You're not going to get the right cell phone. You're not going to get the person you were trying to reach. Our metabolism is the same because our body is like that programmed phone. When we follow the proper methods to our reverse diet, this is just like calling somebody with the correct cell phone number. Our metabolism's not going to heal smoothly if we're calling the wrong number, if we are doing a reverse diet improperly. So that would be like us typing in all zeros and then a 9. We're not going to get to where we want to go. If we type in all zeros, if we put in the exact formula that we need, if we do that reverse diet properly, we're going to get to where we want to go. That's why our body is like a programmed cell phone. It will do what it is told. So therefore, we get to tell it what to do and we get to tell it what to do properly. You may go from 1,200 calories up to 1,400 calories by increasing quickly and adding 100 calories a week, but you will likely gain weight in that process, which isn't actually truly healing your metabolism. It is actually just gaining weight and your metabolism staying at that lower calorie intake. That is exactly like typing in all zeros and 9, okay? That's not going to be the right way to do your reverse diet. So you want to make sure that you are being like that cell phone number, you are typing in the right number, and you are following the proper methods of adjusting your protein, your carbs, and your fat. Number 2, this one actually I think is going to be surprising, but using ChatGPT, okay? Using AI to create a game plan. Now, I love ChatGPT. I love AI. I think it's great in certain ways. I truly, genuinely do. So as an example, we went to Scotland earlier this month as I'm recording this, but we went to Scotland and asked ChatGPT for all kinds of good ideas of things to do. However, we did not have it plan the entire trip. So we used it as a tool to create ideas. We did not use it to create the exact game plan. Now, the reason for this, and to put it into perspective of this trip, I'm very much, when traveling, we want to do as much as we possibly can. And also, we don't want to be so jam-packed with things that we are exhausted and tired and just not happy because we're all cranky, hungry, and tired. We want to do all of the fun things and also maybe have some downtime to go to the spa. Maybe have some downtime to sit there and read with a glass of wine, looking out at a beautiful view. We want to have that downtime, taking some mornings slow. Other mornings, maybe we will get up at 6 o'clock. And when looking at the game plan that ChatGPT gave us, it was a jam-packed plan. We would all be miserably unhappy. It was like a 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. kind of go, go, go. You're just grabbing food on the go. Like you're not sitting and enjoying. It wasn't going to work. And I actually have some specific things that I want to talk through for ChatGPT that I think are nice and I think are good ways to use it, and other ways that I think are not good ways to use it. Personally, I actually don't use it for anything nutrition or fitness, and I'll walk you through why I have a pretty firm belief in this, but I'll walk through that in a second. ChatGPT doesn't know anything about our personal preferences. We can tell them and we can give them as much detail as we possibly can. However, it's not able to have the same reaction as a human would to our past diet history, to our emotional eating stressors, to our personal things that we need to talk about. So ChatGPT gave us a great list of things to do. We took those and we created our own game plan, and then we sprinkled in some of the things that it told us to do into that. So certain places to go. We're like, great, yes, we're in this area. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Back to this episode here. AI wasn't created to replace human guidance and support on a level of the way that our body works, okay? There are many things that it can replace. It can give you a full list. However, I want to walk through some hard no's that I came across with ChatGPT, but I looked up every possible question there was around reverse dieting that I could possibly think of. I was extremely disappointed because when it came to some of the reverse dieting questions, they were the big no-nos that I actually talk about when it comes to reverse dieting. And I found myself frustrated because I know how much people do use ChatGPT, and I think there's a space for it, but this would not be it. So I asked how to reverse diet. And so one of the answers it gave me, gradual calorie increase. I'm just going to read this actually directly back to you. Begin your reverse diet by adding a small number of calories to your daily intake, typically around 100 to 200 calories per week. This slow increase helps your body adapt and minimize the risk of rapid fat gain. I read that and I was like, no, that's a fast track to rapid fat gain. Fast track. Way too fast to increase variable or our calories. And also, it does not even talk about any of the variables that need to be looked at. I was like, this is wild to me. One of the other pieces that it said, and I actually have mixed feelings about this one. So it said prioritize protein. I'm like, yes, I love this, like here for it. However, the numbers that it gave were actually not what I would personally suggest. It said, but I did like this, keep your protein relatively high throughout the reverse diet. Protein is essential for muscle growth and recovery. Yes, I love it. I'm here for it. However, the numbers it started to give, I'm not even going to say it out loud because I was just like, ooh, that's really inaccurate. And I've had mixed feelings because heck yeah, we want to eat that protein, right? I'm always preaching we want the protein and also the carbs and the fat. And then I also was like, but that's not the correct amount of protein. And I think it's important that there is a very specific golden range that we want to be tracking and hitting when it does come to our protein. And specifically for the way that I like to go about macros, specifically for my clients, is I like to have my eye on their initial numbers to make sure that we are actually really catering to them as an individual and their preferences. So I think one of the problems with ChatGPT is it's just giving you a number to start tracking at, and that's not going to be customized to you. And we really want to make sure we're customizing it, okay? So when it comes to actually calculating macros, I start with protein, then I calculate fat, and then I do carbs. That's all laid out in my macro calculator, and that'll be in the show notes. It always is. But there's a very specific method when it comes to that. Things that I really liked. I feel like these are going to be classic things that just make sense. Be patient. You guys know that I preach being patient. And I was like, this is a win for ChatGPT. It said, be patient. Reverse dieting is a slow process and it's essential to be patient. It may take several weeks or even months to a year to return to maintenance calories without gaining excess fat. And I was like, high five, ChatGPT. And if you're somebody who really struggles with the quick fix mentality and trying to take it slow, I highly suggest reading The Compound Effect. I actually have all my BPM clients read that just because I think it's a very, very powerful book. I personally read it probably once a year because I'm obsessed with it and I think it's wonderful. And it's really helpful to help you get out of the quick fix mentality because it goes in many different aspects, even outside of fitness. And so I highly suggest that. Seeking professional guidance. This was another ChatGPT win. It said, consider consulting with a registered dietitian, nutritionist, sports nutritionist who can provide personalized guidance and monitor your progress. And I was like, that's such a heck yes. And I think what's important to note, and this is where it can also be mixed feelings on this one also. So obviously I'm a huge advocate of getting help and been doing this for over 6 years for a very long time. I have 12 years of experience in this world. So I think what's really nice is I have courses which will teach you exactly how to adjust macros on your own. So if you're somebody who knows for an absolute fact that you're just fine without the guidance, in that case, I'm like, well, yeah, you can have the full course that will walk you through the exact game plan that you need to do that's going to teach you how to customize it to yourself. And you may not need that accountability. You may be good to go. Or you might be somebody who, when life happens, when you get sick, when you are on vacation, when you are traveling, when you're around the holidays, all of those things where those real world, real life things happen, you're going to want somebody that you can lean back on who can help you navigate those situations, which is why I am so big about really making sure that you are truly having my signature framework that I always talk about is you want something that's going to be sustainable, maintainable, educational, and enjoyable, and that's what's going to make it last long term. Now, here's the last piece that was another really big heck yes to ChatGPT. It said, remember that reverse dieting should be tailored to your individual needs and goals. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach, so make adjustments necessary to achieve the results you desire while maintaining a healthy relationship with food. And I was like, ChatGPT, who are you? Like, I love this. Can we just get a heck yes to that? You want to maintain that relationship with food. It is not a one-size-fits-all. It should be tailored to your individual goals. Then I'm like, then why are you saying exactly that you should be adjusting by 100 to 200 calories? I'm like, that's a little bit contradictory. I had a really good time on ChatGPT on like debunking all this. So that's my number 2. Just be very wary of what you are using ChatGPT for. Please be careful and not use it for adjusting macros. It's such a no-no. It is just such a no-no. I want to interrupt this oh so lovely podcast episode of mine to let you know that the Food Freedom and Macro Guide is available to you completely free. This guide holds the answers you need to end the macro mystery and learn why nothing else has ever worked long term. With macros and your human factor, you can have your cake and eat it too. Live your life instead of wasting every day hyper-focused on all of the stress on what you can and cannot eat. This Food Freedom and Macro Guide will give you clarity on what macros are and the role that they play in your metabolism. You'll learn why macros are so important to keep your body functioning properly and how we actually use these and your human factor to see the changes that you want. You'll be able to discover the anti-diet world and how we use macros to eat the food that we love every day. If you're ready for endless food freedom and want to take a deep dive into macros, this guide is for you. Go ahead down to the show notes and grab your guide today. So, number 3 here, number 3 mistake. You are not hitting your macros, but you are still increasing your macros. Here's my thing. I am equally as excited for you to reverse diet, to heal your metabolism, to feel so insanely good. And also, would you rather not do the reverse diet properly in the first place and have to backtrack, or do it right in the first place and not have to backtrack? We all know the answer to this one, but I like to imagine hitting our macros like a roadmap to Italy. This is one of my favorite analogies that I use with my BBM clients, and it's just like an aha moment to them every single time. So let's say we are following this roadmap to Italy and we're trying to get to Tuscany, okay? We're going to get to Tuscany. We've got that roadmap. We know where we're going. We will get there. That is like hitting your macros. You are following the roadmap. You're going to get to where you want to be. Your body's going to understand because our body thrives with consistency. If we're not giving it consistency, it will not understand what we're doing. Remember, I think it was the last episode that I talked about this. So just to do a quick recap, our body thrives with consistency. Many of the processes that we, especially with reverse dieting, is metabolic adaptation is the way that our body actually works. So we are born with a heart that beats. It has a process. It has a system to keep our heart beating. We are born with a digestive system, right, that takes care of all of our digestion. We are born with a metabolism. The only thing is, we don't always pay attention to each of those. We may not take care of each of those. We might end up with heart problems. We might end up with digestive issues. We might end up with metabolism problems, okay? Every body, literal body, has processes that it needs to keep us moving forward. However, if we are doing something that might harm that process, that means we get to fix it. If we have something going with our heart, we want to take care of it. If we have something going on with our digestion, we want to take care of it. If something going on with our metabolism, likely happening to you while you're listening to this, we get to take care of it. Using a roadmap of Italy to get to Tuscany is going to get us to where we need to go. Using a roadmap of the United States to get to Tuscany in Italy, we're not going to get to where we need to go. Not hitting our macros is essentially us using a roadmap of the United States to get to Tuscany. Not going to happen. Not going to work. We're not going to get to where we need to be. So our macros and our metabolism are very similar in that sense of when we're hitting our macros, our body's going to start to understand what we're doing. So hitting our macros when it comes to consistency. So we're going to do this example. Let's just say we have 100 protein, 100 carbs, and 100 fat across the board. But if you're not actually hitting those macros, or you only hit it a couple times in a week, what's going to happen is your body has no clue that you're actually trying to hit a certain intake on a day-to-day basis. And it does not understand the formula that you are trying to plug in. Therefore, when we try to adjust our macros, but we have not been hitting our macros consistently, our body and our metabolism does not understand the macro intake that we are going for, and we'll try and increase those numbers. Our metabolism has not adjusted to those numbers, and weight regain will happen because our metabolism was not ready for that increase. So I have people who will start tracking their macros and they completely skip the step of actually learning to hit their macros and the maintainable piece being that they can actually eat out, they can travel, they can do these real world scenarios and still hit their macros and still feel on track and not feel restricted, not feel like they can't eat certain things. You must hit that maintainable piece. You must feel really confident with eating out. I had somebody who reached out and applied to BPM, and she actually asked if she could pause or wait until her vacation was over. I couldn't remember which one it was. And that's one of my biggest things where I'm like, no, I want you to actually be with me while you're on vacation because I can help you navigate that situation. We don't want to push our problems under the rug and trying to wait until after the holidays or trying to wait until after the vacation, trying to wait until fill in the blank with the real world scenario. I disagree with that. And I think a lot of diet programs out there say, okay, you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to do this or that. Well, that's not realistic. That's not going to work, which is why it's my favorite. I encourage my clients to travel when they are in BPM. I encourage my clients to go out to eat, to go on vacation. I love working with my clients during the holidays, but I want you to know, like, whoever you end up working with, if you end up getting a coach, whether that's me, whether that's somebody else, highly suggested because it's so helpful, but please make sure that you are keeping up with your real world life while going through the process, because that's where you get to learn how to navigate those situations and how to truly make it a long-term change so you feel so confident. And the beauty of tracking macros is it does not have to be forever. Tracking macros is quite literally the best tool to get you to where you need to go. And also, once you hit that point, you can stop tracking. That's one of the things that I teach my clients. Please make sure that you are fully hitting your macros before you actually adjust. And then for here, actually, if you don't have the starting macros that are correct, this is going to be a massive problem because that starting intake that you are having for your macros, that is the foundation that you are going to be building from. And if you have a foundation that is cracked, that is not going to be sustainable, it will break, it will fall through, and you will not actually be able to have a successful reverse diet. In my signature framework, I talked about this in one of my past episode where I talk about my client who was eating 780 more calories in her reverse diet. It's a client case study. Go listen to that one because I dive really deep into my signature framework and talk through what I helped her do and then action steps for you to do that as well. But my framework, sustainable, maintainable, educational, and enjoyable. So in the sustainable piece, you want to make sure that your starting framework for your macros is actually sustainable for you. If you are eating something that is not going to work for you, it's not going to last. So if you're doing keto, obviously it's not going to last. You're having that starting intake, you're dropping your carbs really low. Even if you're tracking your macros and you're keeping your carbs really low, we don't want to do that because that's not going to be sustainable, also not going to be good for our body. So you really want to make sure that you're having a very solid foundation, having the correct macros to start from, and then adjusting properly from there. I talk about this all the time, but MyFitnessPal macros, please do not use macro calculators that you type in just your height, your weight, your age, and activity factor. Those are not going to give you the correct macros. Those are not going to be accurate for you, for your body, for your metabolism. You really want to make sure you're finding a macro calculator, whether that's mine, I walk you through all of this in mine, or whatever else it may be. You want to make sure you're taking into account your personal information, your metabolism health, and then getting the macros from there. I personally teach doing your protein, and then you do your fat, and then you do your carbs. So please make sure you are having the correct starting macros. Then last but not least, and this is one that I just want to give you the biggest bear hug in the entire world, if you have been reverse dieting and it started to go haywire on you and this scared you, so many big hugs your way because you are okay. You are okay. I know it's scary when you have started that reverse diet and it's gone haywire and you're like, SOS, I don't know what to do. So what happens a lot of times is I will have somebody reach out to me and they'll say, I've done X, Y, and Z, oftentimes having to do with having the weight regain when they are doing 100 calorie increase, whatever it may be. And they panic and they get scared. And a couple of different things can happen. Number one, you start adjusting your macros all over the place without any kind of game plan there, just immediately decreasing your macros all of a sudden. I had one of my BPM clients, can't remember the exact situation for her, and she's killing it with her reverse diet now. But essentially what happened is she told me that she completely panicked. She was doing her reverse diet and she just decided to start lowering her numbers. She started decreasing things. Nothing worked. She started adjusting her fat and then her carbs, and she's just going haywire. And remember what I said about our bodies and consistency. She has now taken her body and she has done many, many, many different adjustments in a very short time period without any kind of scientific backing to it. So our body is just like, what the heck is happening? Sadly enough, it completely messed up any progress that she did have, and we had to do a full refresh, and it's totally fine. She's thriving now. The problem was it really, really scared her. And she was like, I am in panic mode. I have completely messed up everything. So what happened was she started to push back. Prior to reaching out to me, she was explaining she started to push back and she started to completely reverse, right? To backtrack, to slide back into the diets that she was doing before. She's like, I messed it up. Let me just go back to dieting again. And so here's my solution that I really encourage if you are somebody who is just like in this panic mode, okay? When something's hard, we're going to push back. Give yourself 10 minutes to write down, or however many minutes you want to give yourself, but give yourself time to write down 10 action steps for the goal that you are wanting to accomplish. Pick one of those action steps every day or every week or every month if you need to, and make sure you are not rushing through them, because the rush can cause the overwhelm. When we have this mad dash to the finish line, it's going to create more stress than not. Because reverse dieting is a slow and steady process, just as calorie deficits are. We want to be in the story of like the tortoise and the hare. We want to be the tortoise. We want to go slowly but surely, because that's going to give us the long-term change. But it can be really hard to be going through that process, to be halfway through and be like, I've still got months to go. And you're like, but I want to be there. And it can actually cause you to start to backslide and to get discouraged. You want to make sure you're going slow and steady. You are breaking your goals down into these very, very easy to process action steps. And you're doing one at a time. So you're not trying to complete action step 1 while also trying to look at action step 10. You want to go one step at a time, because it's going to give you the deep breath of saying, hey, I've got this game plan. I'm going to be okay. And it's going to break those tasks up so they are less overwhelming. And I really encourage you to, when it comes to those action steps, you can even write down 10 steps and then break them down even more. So let's say we want to lose 50 pounds and we want to heal our metabolism. Maybe say your very first action step is to actually verify. So like maybe you're already tracking your macros. So you want to verify that your macros are correct. Maybe you are not tracking your macros and you want to start tracking your macros. So you take that. Step number 1, learn how to track macros / verify macros are correct. Okay, so now that you have that, don't panic of saying, I don't know what to do now. Take that one action step and break it down. So maybe you say learning to track macros, let's assign that to week 1 or month 1 if you want to. Assign that to that specific timeline. Make sure you're giving yourself adequate time. I would say don't do one a day. Definitely not. I said that earlier. Don't do that. And break that one piece down into smaller steps. So what do you need to start tracking your macros? Well, you should probably start to learn looking at a nutrition label, start to learn looking at food. You definitely should get a food scale. Definitely. You should start to learn more about protein, carbs, and fat. If you are like brand spanking new to tracking macros, I have in my show notes, I always have it down there. It's a food freedom and macro guide, completely free. Gives you a very big deep dive in macros. So maybe that's like your step 1. Go grab that free guide. It'll walk you through protein, carbs, and fat. It'll start to walk you through the basics there. And so maybe that's step 1, getting that education there. Maybe even that is step 1, the sole education of protein, carbs, and fat. Maybe step 2 is actually getting those macros calculated, like really breaking this down. I'll keep that all under step 1 of macros and then just break it down into smaller pieces there. So you're working your way through. So you've got your one category of learning to track macros, and you've now broken that down to say like maybe there's 10 more steps under there. You take step 1, 2, 3, 4 through 10, and then bam, you've hit those 10 steps. You've now completed that step 1. Now you can move to the step 2. Break that down into smaller little pieces. And this really breaks it down to make it a lot less overwhelming, a lot less stressful in this place of complete an utter just overwhelm of decision fatigue, of wanting to push back, take a deep breath and give yourself some time to sit down, write your main goal, and then really start to break it down into action steps and then further break those down as well. It's going to be a game changer. It will give you so much ease of knowing you can go step by step. And here's the thing too, if you're doing this on your own and it's leading you to more stress, less results, less time, you're spending all this time on Google, it's impacting your mental health, it's not only okay, but it's recommended to ask for help. I encourage you, if it is impacting your mental health, if it's impacting your well-being, ask for help. It's worth it. Your mental health, your well-being is absolutely worth it. You are worth it. So with all this, my lovely, my beautiful peach, let's add one more thing here. I know it can be hard to feel that we are deserving of those changes. We have done all the diets. We feel we are not worth the time. We are not worth investing in ourselves. We're not worth taking care of ourselves because we have other people to take care of. We get to take care of ourselves because then that can help take care of those around us. You are worthy, you are deserving, and you are capable. You are so capable. So with all of this, I adore you so much. I wish I could just give you a big bear hug in person because I get excited. Please do not forget, if you ever have any questions, DM me on Instagram. It makes me so happy. It makes my world so happy when I see that you add a 5-star rate and review. If you have heard me say that 100 times and you have not done it, please do it for me. Pretty please, with a cherry on top. It makes me so happy. It's so quick. It's so quick and easy. And just a 5-star rate and review. Give it a Google search on how to do it if you need to. Watch a quick YouTube video. I don't even care. It makes my heart so happy and I appreciate you so gosh darn much. So with all this, I hope this episode was amazing and gave you all the nerdy goodies that you wanted. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, my beautiful peach.